How's it going, Scotch addicts? My name is Josh Warren, and welcome back to the third episode of Dram That's Good Scotch Review. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I was just at a sales conference this last weekend, and I got to drink a lot of really cool stuff there. It was not actually any sort of a Scotch or whiskey convention, but hey, I'm not going to turn down free booze when somebody finds me and says, "Hey, man, you got to try this stuff." Happens more often than you might think. But I caught just a little bit of a cold or allergies or something while I was there. And so I thought, well, I'll go pick something cheap up from the store. But instead, I decided, you know what, I really don't feel like going back to the store today. Because I was going to do something, like a white or a black label, something really common. But I had something in the box over here in the kitchen. I was like, oh man, this would be really good. And it sucks because when you're doing tastings like this, your olfactory organs, your nose generates it doesn't generate the taste, but for you, it provides a lot of the taste. The way you receive the taste, I guess is what I would say. A lot of that comes from your nose. So having just a little bit of a stuff up in my nostril here, I'm like, I don't know if I really want to do something high quality. But it was either that or go back out into public when I really didn't feel like it. So I decided instead to do something I had lying around that's very special. I'm sure a lot of people will be excited about this particular review, especially since I'm throwing it out as a curveball. This is the Laphroaig Age 25. This is a 2013 Cask Strength edition. We're just reading straight off the bottle this time because honestly I wouldn't remember all these notes. Matured in a combination of the finest Oloroso sherry and American oak casks. This is, you can just see, just barely there on the camera through there, what's left of this bottle. I did not purchase this myself personally. I actually got this one from my dad, and I got it about this full. I think I've had one glass out of this thing. But I'm trying to remember exactly where he got it, to be honest with you. And beyond that, I don't actually know for sure what a price point is on this one. But he was kind enough to share it with me, and it only seemed right that I share it back with you guys, my experience with this absolute masterpiece of a scotch. This thing it's a peat bomb. There's no way to sugarcoat that. It is a peat bomb, but it is one of the smoothest, most pleasant peat bombs you could ever find. 45.1% alcohol, so obviously gets the job done. Of course they do your standard humble brag on the back here. 25 years, a landmark worth savoring. But I don't disagree with them. This particular bottle is absolutely something worth savoring. And it's not just about the accomplishment, it's about the flavor. Leaving something in a barrel for 25 years is not in itself a difficult task. I suppose it's difficult in that you would probably want to open before then. But waiting is not a difficult thing to do. You hear it from a lot of people. Waiting and producing this kind of flavor, that's difficult. That's incredibly difficult. Because, again, I'm going to go ahead and... It's not the same. It's not a fresh open, but you get that satisfying sound. And even with a little something in my nose right now, even just the tiniest bit congested, the instant aroma, just smoke. But it's, everyone's different. Some people like the peat stuff, some people don't like the peat stuff, some people prefer the sweet stuff instead. This just smells, to me, fan-freaking-tastic. If you're not a fan of peat stuff, I would recommend Laphroaig's 10 or either their 10-year or their quarter cask as great examples to get started of something that has a strong peat to it, but also has a lot of flavor and a lot of fruit notes that soften the blow for you. So if you're not a big fan of the smoky stuff, the 10 or the quarter cask are great places to start. But if you can't afford those, you should be able to afford those. That's what this show is all about. Rather, if you can afford those, but you're thinking about trying something a little heavier or something a little more expensive, we're going to dive right into this guy. And damn, am I looking forward to this. As you can see, we're probably not going to get a second glass out of this guy tonight. I could, but I don't really feel like killing this bottle when I've got a bit of congestion going on. I'd rather have something like this when I can enjoy it a little more. So let's do that pour. And that is just the best golden colored fluid you'll ever see. That is some beautiful stuff right there. It's not as dark as you might be used to seeing from something that's so mature. Uh, Laphroaig, I've been to a lot of their tastings, a lot of their events, and for a lot of their expressions, they say that they do not add any or any coloring rather. And this one, just judging by how light it is, you would assume that there is no color added to it. I'll be honest with you, I don't actually know. But it just looks so damn good in this glass. It's one of the lightest colored whiskeys I drink, and you can see just barely on the edges of those lines, that thing's not moving. The legs on that glass, nothing is moving, and it's pretty beautiful to see. Like, some are just starting to come down now. The natural oil is just starting to slide down the side of the glass. This is a great looking expression. And frankly, once you get it into the glass and open it up a little bit, the nose on this thing is glorious. Every bit as aromatic and enjoyable as you would expect a 25-year to be. But the most important thing, of course, is the taste. So let's see what we got here. Oh man, that clears up the sinuses right there. Oh, that is something else. Even with just a little bit of congestion up here, and again, it's almost a waste to drink it when you have that going on. It's just, it's hard to describe the bouquet of flavors that are going on in this glass. It deserves a second sip, right? This is not as smooth as other 25s that I've had. And that's not a bad thing. This doesn't need to be smooth. If it were too much smoother, if it were too much older, I think it would start to lose something. I've had the privilege in my life of having a couple of different 30 and 35-year expressions, and they're so damn smooth, it's like drinking water, but at the same time, there's something that feels like it's missing, you know? It feels like maybe they lost something a step before where they are. Whereas this is that step before. The flavor is incredibly bold. It pulls no punches. Front of the tongue is so fruity that it's almost a little too fruity. I think if you enjoy sort of the apricot finish that a lot of people talk about, this one will be perfect for you. If you're more of a vanilla type or more of a caramel type, you do get some caramel at the back end. You really don't get a lot of vanilla with this expression. You're going to hear me a lot of the time say, because these are three of the most common flavor profiles in Scotch whiskey, you get a lot of vanilla notes, caramel notes, and fruit notes. And this one has a ton of fruit into it. I love that. A lot of people are not as big of fans, but you're getting a lot of also the sherry cask finish. The Oloroso sherry casks do tend to have a bit of a fruitier finish to them. Again, I don't think that's a bad thing at all. I think that's actually extremely freaking pleasant. But even with my taste buds a little bit messed up by the cough drops, this thing, it just drinks incredibly well. Flavor on the front of the tongue is very, very soft, very pleasant flavor. On the back, as it goes down, the finish, it gets a little bit smoother with every sip, and that's not because of an alcoholic burn that you're getting used to. It does so well with just a little bit of time to get some air in it. It's a very well-rounded expression. You get a little bit of sweetness on the front, but not so much that it gets rid of the peat. You get smoke. You're breathing fire, but you enjoy every second of the fire that you're breathing. Laphroaig did a contest a few years ago for the slogan they were going to paint on the side of the building at their new distillery. And my submission for that contest, of course, was that it was like tasting a log from God's fireplace. And I stand by that. This is what I imagine, if he be up there, this is what I imagine God's fireplace would smell and taste like. And I have no qualms about that. I think he would have incredible taste for that to be the case. This stuff is great. Final sip for the show here, just because I like to end on a good sip, and I'd like a really good sip of this. It's outstanding. It's just outstanding. I have really just about nothing bad I can say about this, except that if you want the smoothest 25 I've ever had, this isn't it. And again, not a bad thing. This is not the smoothest you're going to have. This is not necessarily the peatiest 25 you're going to have if you're a really big peat head. But all things work in perfect balance. The peat is just right. It's not overpowering. The fruit is just right. It's just sweet enough without being too sweet. The flavor profiles all mix really, really well in what has to be one of the most satisfying single sip scotches I can describe to you. And single sip is not a bad way to put it, because depending upon the year that you're talking about, and again, this is a cask strength edition, so this one is a little stronger. Depending on the one you're going for, I'm seeing prices here on the phone as low as $450 and as high in some cases as $700, depending on the year, depending on the vintage. So this is not a cheap glass, but it is a damn worthwhile glass if you can find a way to get your hands on some. If you hear about any sort of a tasting in your area where this is available to try, for the love of God, try it, because for what that price is, I couldn't ask anybody watching the show to pay that price. I know that's a lot of money for a single bottle, but it is worth every damn penny. If it's $10, $20, $30 to get into a tasting, pay that price. Enjoy yourself, and when you get to this, take your time with it. This thing deserves to be processed slowly. It deserves to sit on the whole tongue, cover the roof of your mouth, get down there, and just really embrace everything that this is, which is, again, one of the most balanced things I've ever tasted. 10 out of 10. Would drink this again every single day of my life if my body could handle it. I don't think it can. But if only. If only my pockets were so deep, and if only my body could have, if my body could handle that. I wish. I really do wish. I know I'm singing the hell of the praises of this thing. I am definitely a biased Peat head. I'm not afraid to admit that, but this thing is incredible. Again, if you've got $500 lying around and you want to go find one of these, God bless. You will not regret it. I mean that fully. And it's hard for me to say that because I know that's so much money. I'm not made of money like a lot of people think I am. So for me to tell you, go ahead and spend $500 on one freaking bottle and you won't be upset about it, I mean it. This is good. Really nothing left to say, guys, other than this is amazing. Laphroaig 25, 2013 Cask Strength Edition. Thank you very much. Shout out to my buddy Simon Brooking. Haven't seen you in a while. But you guys keep promoting this product because it is damn fantastic. And to all my Scotch heads at home, remember, the best way to drink your whiskey is from a glass. Take care, guys.